In this video, I want to come to the defense of a very well-known Muslim sportsman and celebrity who is kind of a role model for many Muslims throughout the world. And I'm really prompted to do the video because of a tweet that I saw earlier today. Here it is. And here we see a tweet by Sophie Corcoran. She is a well-known English journalist with The Express, commenting on a situation involving former MMA champion Khabib Nurmagomedov. And the embedded tweet by, as you can see, someone called Azat, refers to the UEFA Champions League final, where Khabib allegedly he did refuse to shake hands with a female CBS sports presenter, citing such a gesture is considered, quote, kind of haram in Sharia law. And then, as you can see, Sophie Corcoran responds very negatively. Refusing to shake a woman's hand, but not a man's, does not show respect for women, she thinks. It is misogyny of full display, and we mustn't let people twist it. In Britain, we treat women and men as equals, she thinks, and we mustn't tolerate those who don't. And there's actually if you find this email, you can watch the video where he doesn't shake her hand. But there's no understanding, no contextual understanding of what is actually really happening here. Khabib is a committed Muslim and therefore adheres to an Islamic principle observed by Muslims, refraining from physical contact, including handshakes, with unrelated members of the opposite sex as a form of modesty, not disrespect. And this norm is adhered to by Orthodox Jews as well. It's in the Jewish law for the same reasons as well. And it highlights a key tension, of course, between these religious norms and, on the other hand, Western secular expectations. In Western secular context, this is often interpreted through the lens of so-called gender equality or etiquette. But it is by Muslims, it's a form of respect and a form of modesty. And Corcoran's deliberate refusal to even understand this basic point is, I think, very revealing. So Khabib's decision not to shake the presenter's hand stems from his long-standing religious convictions, not misogyny. In Islam, as in Orthodox Judaism, avoiding physical contact with non-mahram, non-close kin individuals is a matter, as I say, of modesty and piety. Many Muslim women uphold the same practice toward men, grounded in the same principle of faith and respect. And this is the case. And this is founded in Islam on the prophetic practice, the Sunnah. The Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace, himself is recorded in a Sahih hadith, a completely reliable hadith. The Prophet used to take the pledge from women by words only. By Allah, it says, his hand never touched the hand of any woman, not lawful for him. The source, Sahih Muslim, of course. So the Prophet himself, upon whom he's avoided physical contact with non-mahram women, even in formal settings like pledges of allegiance. Now, this tradition is upheld by all four Sunni schools regarding physical contact between unrelated men and women, and it's impermissible in all of these. And contemporary scholars also endorse this, be they male or female. And as I say, Orthodox Judaism also has exactly the same principle. So this is not misogyny, it's a theologically grounded act of modesty and discipline practiced by devout men and women equally across the Muslim world, as I say, also found in Judaism. So one of the things that gets me a little bit angry about this whole issue is that people like Sophie, and also we saw this with a German foreign minister months ago when she met the new Syrian leader, and he didn't want to shake her hand. And this was made a great fuss of in the German media. I saw it for myself and other English-speaking outlets as well. And it seems to be the case that otherwise intelligent, seemingly intelligent people simply refuse to understand the Islamic tradition. Almost on principle, it's almost as if it's beneath them to actually listen to what Muslims say about their own faith when it comes to gender relations. It's almost like, well, we Europeans are superior, and we're not even going to bother to understand what you Muslims think about your faith. We're just going to come with it with our views and not going to listen to you because we're superior. There is an assumption that I detect under the surface of supremacist superiority and this arrogant refusal to try and understand basic principles of gender relations in Islam. Islam is a religion of over 2 billion people in the world. So it's worth having a very basic understanding of the religion, I think. But the refusal of many in the West at the highest levels, whether it be journalism or in government, to even bother to understand it, a refusal born of arrogance, I think, is really, really revealing. And the problem lies with them, not with Muslims. What could possibly be wrong with a devout worshipper of God showing respect for the opposite sex? What could be wrong with that? It's a very noble, I think, practice, and that others should adopt it. Dare I say, non-Muslims should start practicing this. It's a way of showing respect between the genders. It might lessen tensions between the genders or sexes on public transport or out and about. You might see a new era of civility emerging if people borrowed some of these Islamic traditions, which are not unique to Islam. They're found, as I say, in Orthodox Judaism too. I'm not sure what the issue is. Christianity is slightly different. It seems to have 2,000 years ago with the Apostle Paul, it seems to have abandoned completely Jewish traditions, Jewish law, the divine law. It no longer is central or even relevant to Christian practice. And I think that's a systemic issue intrinsic to Christianity. And so it's kind of all over the place, and it just kind of gets blown around by secular views. But those religions like Islam and Orthodox Judaism, which to a greater or lesser degree still follow the original template of behavior and adab and relationships between the sexes as guided by prophets and revelation, they certainly have the very high standards of morality. And I wish Christians and others would actually not so much Christians, but the West in general, not be so arrogant as not to understand Muslims in the first place, to bother to take the time. And secondly, maybe benefit from it and have a more ennobled, more civil discourse and communication between the sexes. But I fear that the conflict between the West and Islam on this goes very deep, goes back many centuries. It's not just a question of, Sophie Corcoran being prejudiced or not bothering to understand what Khabib was doing, though it is that, but she is part of a deeper civilizational problem which refuses to listen even to basic principles of their fellow human beings and how they do things. And thus you get this sweeping, arrogant dismissal and misrepresentation of what on earth is going on here. And just a few final words on this marvelous book, Being Muslim, a Practical Guide by Asad Tarsin, who's an American writer, is a forward by Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. And it very briefly touches on these issues of lifestyle, it says, to look and touch, it says. And it brings in a few other topics, actually. But I just want to read to you a paragraph from this book. It's a very good book. That in the Quran, God commands believers to lower their gazes out of modesty, so as not to allow sensually stimulating images to enter a heart striving to concern itself with God. The purity of motive here. As a general rule, whatever body part would be forbidden, haram, for a person to expose would be forbidden for another to look at without a reason. So presumably like a doctor or nurse in a certain medical context. The faculty of sight is considered the most direct inroad to the heart, and any images we have an immediate spiritual impact. This may be realized by considering the extreme use of visually stimulating images in modern advertising. So you can see this in marketing, it's used everywhere, how powerful that can be. For reasons similar to the prohibition of seclusion, it is also forbidden, haram, to touch a marriageable person of the opposite gender, since such touching can be a precursor to illicit sensual activity. Islam, as a preventative measure, forbids it in and of itself, as a preventative measure. Again, the concern here for purity, for integrity, for protecting the other from abuse and other sins. Through these guidelines, God has regulated the powerful force of sensual stimulation in public spaces, while providing an appropriate environment for its expression and enjoyment in a private space. In other words, in the home. So it's a beautiful summary there of a flavor also of an Islamic way of living. And I think there's a huge amount that the West can benefit from in learning about this. It is an Abrahamic way of looking at things. It used to be there in the beginning in Christianity. It's still there in some strands of Judaism, in Orthodox Judaism, and it's still mainstream for 2 billion Muslims in the world, which is extraordinary, alhamdulillah. So recommend that book as well for many other fascinating topics. I won't go into that in this particular podcast. So that's my view. Let me know what you think about this issue. Until next time.